Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Honourable members, I respectfully acknowledge that we are sitting today on the land of Aboriginal people and pay my respects to elders past and present. I thank them as First Australians for their careful custodianship of the land over countless generations. We are very fortunate in this country to have two of the world's oldest continuing living cultures in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people whose lands, winds and waters we all now share. Honourable members, it is a pleasure today to be here in my role as Speaker for your Youth Parliament and to welcome you as youth members. We are delighted to have you in the Legislative Assembly chamber for the 2023 Brisbane North Primary Schools Youth Parliament. It is a privilege to be a Member of Parliament because members represent all those who live in their electorates, our Queensland communities. Parliament is more than the government. Our Parliament includes the Premier, the Cabinet Ministers, the government backbenchers, the shadow cabinet, the opposition backbenchers, and members who represent minor parties and independent members. All these groups and individuals come together to speak about important matters for Queenslanders and to make laws that shape our society. Think about the ideas that you're going to be debating today and how the proposed changes could affect something as basic as the equipment you use in your classroom, or changes that would affect your environment. These ideas really could have a big impact. The work done by the Parliament affects all Queenslanders, and this is why members will be in touch with the people they are representing and listen to their views. It's great to see so many schools participating in this Youth Parliament. I welcome students from Ferny Grove State School, Narangba State School, Tullawong State School, Kawongba State School and Ndurba State School. These schools make up the government on my right. We also welcome the schools making up the opposition on my left: Mitchelton State School, Launton State School, Griffin State School, Sacred Heart Catholic School and Petrie State School. Students, during this Youth Parliament, be sure to encourage your fellow youth members with a hear, hear when they finish their speeches. Perhaps we can practice that now. Hear, hear? Hear, hear. There's no applause in Parliament, but saying hear, hear is the way you can show your respect and your agreement. I declare this Brisbane North Youth Parliament open. I call the Youth Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I am the Youth Premier for Queensland for today, and I'm going to talk about my vision for Queensland. Something I think needs improvement is the schooling in rural areas. NAPLAN results show that schools in major cities have significantly higher scores than schools in rural areas. Statistics from 2019 showed that 97% of students in major cities achieved at or above average Year 3 reading results compared to 88 to 65% in remote or very remote locations. Similar statistics can be seen across all areas of NAPLAN testing. Across mathematics, science, and reading literacy, students from rural areas have been shown to be up to 2 years behind their peers in some cases. Data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that a lot more students in rural areas don't complete Year 12 compared to schools in major cities. One of the reasons why the academic outcomes for students in rural schools is not equivalent to those in major cities is that many rural areas don't have access to the same resources and teachers as schools near the cities. There are initiatives to give rural schools more resources, but I think more can be done. My initiative is that there should be travelling teachers that would spend 2 weeks to a month with the remote school and bring special equipment to teach specialist lessons like specific biology, chemistry, genetics, or even drama, concentrating on hands-on learning, which is known to be more engaging for students to learn. When the travelling teachers are at a rural school, an opportunity should be made for existing educators to observe and learn more about the specific subjects being taught. I feel very passionate about this topic as I feel every child in Australia, no matter where they are living, has the right to an equal education to set them up for a successful future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it on? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I want to share with you a vision for Queensland's future, a vision that takes into account the concerns of population growth and its impact on the environment. Queensland is a state blessed with stunning natural landscapes, diverse ecosystems, and unique wildlife. However, our population is growing. The Queensland Government Statisticians Office quote approximately an extra 770,000 more homes will be needed over the next 20 years. It is therefore my vision the future must balance the needs of a growing population and protecting the natural wonders that make Queensland so special. To achieve this balance, we must have a plan for the future that avoids the consequences of mass land clearing and promotes green spaces. Preserving our environment also means protecting the unique flora and fauna found in Queensland. Queensland is home to countless species that are found nowhere else on Earth, and we all have a responsibility to make sure habitats survive for future generations. Living in harmony with our environment requires responsible land management, conservation, and rules against mass land clearing. Building in the future must be sustainable and preserve our precious ecosystems. By doing so, we can face the challenges of population growth and save the environment from irreversible damage. In conclusion, Queensland's future must consider how population growth will impact our environment. We must remember the choices made today can have lasting negative impacts on the natural wonders of our state and for generations like mine in the future. Thank you.
I call the Youth Minister for Digital Economy.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this Youth Parliament supports that all persons using any social media platforms must prove they are over the age of 16, and all students in Queensland receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage, and all social media companies must provide fact-checking services on all comment sections. I am pleased to support the motion that all people using social media platforms should be over the age of 16 because these apps have inappropriate content that many children aren't meant to see. A level of responsibility comes with going on social media. On social media, you cannot verify the identity of the person you are talking to, which is why it is unsafe for children younger than 16 to be online. This is because they may not understand what they are doing before it is too late. Online, there is limited privacy, so once you put something on the internet, you cannot get it back. When on the internet, people sometimes behave differently to how they would in person because you cannot easily identify them. This leads to increased chance of bullying and harassment. There should be fact-checking services on all comment sections because some people put up inaccurate information and report it as fact. This leads some people to believe false information. Lastly, everyone should get monthly lessons on safe internet usage so that everyone knows the risks and how to use the internet appropriately. The concerns I have mentioned here are why it is so important that this motion becomes a law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the Youth Shadow Minister for Digital Economy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kira Blummel. I am the Youth Shadow Minister for Digital Economy. I draw the attention of the House to talk about the social media measures. Social media is a beneficial source to use when talking to friends and family, and taking that away from a student under 16 is taking their freedom of speech. The monthly lessons take away valuable learning time for Australian students, making it difficult for them to learn other subjects, and knowing that students already have trouble reading and writing. There are not enough people to employ to do the fact-checking service, and it will create a problem for the social media companies because they would have to pay the people who do the fact-checking service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are here today to ask for your support on social media measures for young people in Australia. We, as the government, understand the role that social media plays in our community, especially with younger Australians. However, we firmly believe that social media measures need to be put in place to keep our young people safe while they're online. Today, we're going to talk about 3 important subjects that relate to social media measures. Firstly, we strongly believe that all students must prove they are over the age of 16 to have social media accounts. Children under 16 are not emotionally or mentally developed to deal with harmful comments, negative language, or non-age appropriate content. Secondly, we support that all students receive monthly safe internet usage lessons in all Queensland schools. Currently, there is very little taught in schools relating to the safe internet usage. The eSafety Research Program outlines that the average teenager has at least 4 social media services. Finally, we believe that all social media companies must provide fact-checking services on all comments. This is important to ensure young Australians aren't exposed to lies when online. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to inform the House that it is absolutely ludicrous that companies need to fact-check comment sections on their social media platforms. What a waste of time, human resources, and money. Surely, it is the reader's job to make sure they are thoughtful about what they are reading and where the information comes from. We need to teach people to be discerning about what they are reading, and we need to encourage the reader to spot misinformation. If companies do their own fact-checking, they could have financial reasons for saying what they do, and their so-called fact-checking may not actually be factual, but rather just their own perspective. They could be receiving money for promoting certain information. So, I do not think social media companies should do their own fact-checking. I believe it is imperative that we develop fact-checking through teaching the reader to question and be thoughtful about what they are reading on all social media platforms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Freshwater.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Speaker. I believe that all school students in Queensland must receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage. It is important for students to know what to expect when going on the internet, as harmful content is everywhere. According to a survey conducted in 2019, 95% of children aged 3 to 18 years old have access to the internet. This means only 5 kids out of 100 don't have access to the internet. I believe police should be teaching these monthly lessons, as students take police seriously and listen to them. Additionally, there is a large amount of useful resources online from the eSafety Commissioner at no cost. If police are not available, teachers could teach these classroom Teachers could use these classroom resources to provide the lessons themselves. Educating children in this modern day and age is the key to keeping our generation safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Passmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. Today I would like to draw the attention to the House of the rule they have to be 16 or over to be on social media. How ridiculous that people have to prove that they are over 16. Preteens and teenagers use social media platforms to have fun, make friendships, share interests, and develop relationships, for older teenagers especially. It's often a key part of how they can connect with friends and family. Over 65.5% of the world use social media daily, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, or even Facebook. That is about 5 billion people. It's impossible to even check that everyone on social media is over 16. What about the cost? The amount of money it would cost to install the software to check every single person would be enormous. And what about privacy? Teenagers' privacy would be violated. To carry out these checks, accounts would be breached and privacy destroyed. And they, Mr. Speaker, are the reasons why you should not have to prove your age on social media. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Acacia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will deliver our first argument for social media measures. We believe that all persons that use social media must prove that they are over 16 years old. The social media algorithm and how it can affect the children's mind is outrageous and frightening. A child's personality and mindset can be changed in the snap of their fingers. When using social media apps at the age of 10, kids' brains undergo a fundamental shift when using social media that spurs them to seek social rewards, including attention and approval from their peers. The following apps, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, are not suited to children under 16 years of age, as they do not always display age-appropriate images and can be unsafe for children. These apps are doing nothing to help this. Another app is Omegle. Omegle is an app that is just a chat to strangers, but it was taken too far when it was realized Omegle has no limit to inappropriate imaging. At this point, the government is doing nothing to ensure the safety of Australians under 16. The government needs to do something right away to keep our young people safe online. A way to solve this is to put face recognition and AI on these apps to check a child's age. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Ulandilla.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this youth parliament opposes that all school students in Queensland receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage. Today, I stand before you to express my opposition to the proposal that all school students in Queensland should receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage. While the intention behind this idea may be good, I believe that including such lessons is unnecessary, and an education IT app and chat box would be a more effective and efficient solution. Firstly, the internet is an important part of learners' lives, and educating learners about safe internet usage is very important. However, adding another subject to our busy weeks would only increase the stress on students and teachers. Additionally, the lesson may not suit every learner's needs. Learners have easy access to information. It only makes sense to use technology like an education IT app with a chatbot. This would give Queensland learners instant, real-time information on internet safety that could be accessed anytime, anywhere. In conclusion, the proposal for monthly lessons of safe internet usage for all Queensland learners may not be most efficient or effective way. Instead, an education IT app with a chatbot would provide users with up-to-the-minute information of safe internet usage. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Galloway.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Protective social media measures are important to today's youth. I support the government proposal about social media measures, specifically about fact-checking services in comment sections. I believe this is an absolute necessity, and all companies must implement these measures because most, if not all, interaction spaces are unfiltered, meaning anyone can say anything, fact or fake. Research studies have shown that upwards of 40% of social media users are under the age of 13. Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate fact is that these surveys were conducted in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat that all have an age limit of 13. Still, our youth are accessing these platforms. Children under the age of 16 are still developing the capacity to tell fact from fiction. It is our duty to protect them from misinformation and lies that abound in the comments. Companies must invest in filters or staff to monitor and fact check to stop the spread of lies and falsehoods. We want our youth to thrive and participate as informed citizens. Let us help protect our youth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Quartz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on the motion of fact-checking on every comment section of social media apps. I suggest that there be an option to add an automatic censored comment section, censoring any harassment, cyberbullying, or anything related to those topics typed by people across apps. I also suggest that the automatic censor will give the harasser a message about their actions and either bans the harasser or gives them a pop-up warning. Social media is something that kids are able to get direct connection with other people around the world within the comment section. If that person sends harassing comments or anything related, the message will be instantly deleted and the texter will be given a warning or a ban from the app. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Georgina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to address you on a few of many actions and measures that I strongly feel should be enforced towards social media. Firstly, all people that plan on using social media should most definitely have to prove that they are age 16 or older. I think this because many social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, etc. show violence, coarse language and even inappropriate language. For these reasons and many more, all people should certainly have to prove they are age 16 or over to use a social media platform. Secondly, all schools in Queensland should have to receive a cyber safety lesson every month. This must be enforced because there are many social media platforms with people trying to obtain personal information out of children, such as their names, age, and even their address. As sometimes children are very curious and easily tricked, over half the children that use social media platforms are attacked or hacked. So again, for this reason, I strongly feel all schools in Queensland should have at least one cyber safety lesson each month. Lastly, I strongly believe that all social media platforms must provide fact-checking services on all comment sections. This is important as many social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, etc. show evidence of creators stating false information about their videos. These could be things like, "This is safe for children," when at times it's truly not. These videos can contain coarse language, violence, and inappropriate language. These are the reasons why I strongly believe that all social media platforms must provide fact-checking services on all comment sections. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Pioneer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to inform the House that you should not have to prove you're over the age of 16 when signing into a social media app. Having an age restriction of 16 is a big downside for children who want to learn or connect on social media, let alone having to prove an age. Why is connecting on social media only for the older people? And furthermore, why does it need to be proved? Some social media apps are designed for younger children, yet you still have to prove you're over 16? That's just a waste of time. Why does it matter when you can't possibly prove that everyone is actually 16 or over? It is impossible to police such a rule as that. Some social media apps like Messenger Kids are designed for children, so it is ridiculous to demand a person to prove they are over 16 to use them. How is it possible to even really know who is 16? Unfortunately, many people lie about their age, so to put age restrictions on like this, you're actually just encouraging lying. Also, it would be very expensive to pay for someone to collect the data of every child in Australia to check ages. Seriously, we do not need anyone to prove their age. It is just a big waste of time and taxpayers' money, and there shouldn't be any need for proof of people over the age of 16 for social media. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Acheron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am the second speaker for the government and supporting social media measures and the fact that all Queensland school students should receive monthly safe internet usage lessons. Currently, there is only one unit taught in Year 4 that is part of the Australian curriculum on interpreting messages in the media and in the internet. The general statistics that are children aged 12 to 17 have experienced online bullying or have a negative online experience. The top 3 negative experiences for young people online are being contacted by a stranger or someone they didn't know, unwanted inappropriate content, and deliberately excluded from events or social groups. Regular and relevant lessons relating to online dangers need to be included in monthly school lessons to make Queensland's young people safe online, aware of the dangers and arm them with strategies on how to deal with these negative experiences when and if they are faced with them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Panorama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I voiced my opposition to the proposal that people must prove that they are over 16 to use social media platforms. I acknowledge the intent behind this is to prevent young people from potential online harm. Such a policy raises a number of concerns that must be addressed. To start, at the moment users must be 13, so implementing this policy would mean that a whole group of people who can currently use these platforms would stop being able to for no other reason than you're putting the age up. This doesn't make sense. Secondly, many schools post images of students to boast about their students' achievements on social media. Yet if this policy were introduced, people would be being put up on social media but have no ability to post about themselves. This is extremely unfair. Whilst it is commendable to want to protect young people online, increase the age restriction and requiring people to prove their age is not the best approach. Requiring all online platforms to implement robust and effective measures that protect all users is a much better option. We should be pursuing a balanced approach that benefits all social media users. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that anyone using social media platforms must be able to prove that they are over the age of 16. This is because the online world can be very inappropriate and it is teaching our younger generation things that they should not be exposed to at such a young age. All school students in Queensland should receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage for many reasons. Firstly, students need to understand how dangerous social media can be. Once they post something online, it will be there forever. This action can then go on to affect their future, especially anything inappropriate can lead to lost job opportunities. Social media platforms can also lead to cyberbullying, which is causing more and more problems with depression and anxiety. All social media companies should provide fact-checking services on all comment sections, as there is a lot of misinformation. This is fooling people into unsafe trends. These are some of the many reasons why we should crack down harder on young Queenslanders having unlimited access to social media. Thank you, Speaker.
I call the youth member for Wangaratta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to inform the House my views against students receiving monthly lessons on safe internet usage during school hours. The responsibility of teaching safe internet usage is primarily a parental responsibility, and there are numerous programs available to be purchased that not only teach but also ensure safety while using the internet. Furthermore, teachers are currently overloaded and regularly missing their planning time, and there is current teacher shortage, and this would add additional work and training to an already overloaded profession. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Jarrah.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Speaker. As you can clearly see, the internet is a frequently used and dangerous place where children can access harmful content with a simple click of a button. Children have been lying about their age and there is nothing there to stop them. This has to change. We must improve age verification for social media apps before more children are exposed to dangerous content. Mr. Speaker, it would be beneficial for children to receive monthly lessons to help protect them. There is a large amount of readily available resources that will be extremely useful. The fact that majority of these materials are free to access is incredible. Because of all of this, educating the generation of technology has never been easier. Filtering social media comment sections is incredibly important as misinformation can be quickly spread. Young children will believe almost anything they see, hear, or read on the internet. Therefore, companies should definitely implement fact-checking measures and filters to stop this false information. We need our young generation to stay cyber safe and become knowledgeable citizens. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Rainbow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to inform the House that there is absolutely no need for all school students to receive monthly lessons on safe internet usage. There is incredible research which supports the fact that our school curriculum is already very overcrowded. We definitely do not need something else to learn and be graded on. 6 hours of school is already enough to remember. So why would we throw another subject in? Secondly, how boring would this subject be? It is well supported that if lessons become too boring, children become more and more complacent and start not to listen to the speaker. What would the lessons involve that we don't already know? Just a one-time visit from an expert would give us all the information we needed. Schools, we don't need someone to drone on and on every month. School students are intelligent, you know. So come on and forget the boring monthly lessons. Let's use our school time for real learning. After all, we might want to be politicians someday. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You never know. Youth member for Adeline.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am here today to represent and to talk about what we firmly believe, that all social media companies must provide fact-checking services on all comment sections. We believe this because it can lead to rumors and cyberbullying for young people. Social media companies must provide fact-checking services because lies can be typed into comment sections on all social media apps that can affect people and create arguments and issues between people who comment. I've gone through the comment section on my phone in many social media apps, and there are often rude comments and lies about the person that made the video. Last year, Donald Trump tweeted on Twitter many lies about voting in America and other things. After a while, finally, Twitter decided to fact-check one of the tweets Donald Trump tweeted, and it proved to be incorrect and has ended up in court. Why is it that social media companies can decide to do it occasionally but not do it regularly? Why do social media companies not fact-check? Do they want to create confusion for users, or do they not have enough time to fact-check? There has been many issues, disagreements, and misunderstandings in the past years. Social media companies need to start fact-checking to stop the confusion, online disagreements, cyberbullying, and lies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Proserpine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would like to raise with the House the issue of the age restriction for social media measures. Social media is a great way to connect with people, and taking that away from a 16-year-old or younger is taking away their freedom of speech. We should not be doing this to a 16-year-old or younger because they also have a way to connect with their family around the world and or overseas. It's also free to sign up to Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Unlike Messenger, where you have to pay money each month to text people. Unlike Snapchat, which is free, and you can still do anything you can do on Messenger, like FaceTime, video call, and lots more. So that's why I think high schoolers and 16-year-olds or younger should have social media. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Fig Tree.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Speaker. I believe all individuals must prove that they are over 16 to use social media. Currently, to make a social media account, you must be 13, but sadly there are still many children out there browsing social media apps without an account, meaning these children will eventually be exposed to content that they will definitely not be allowed to watch. Even children under 13 have made accounts because in the majority of social media apps there is almost nothing stopping children from lying about their age. Therefore, we need a program that accurately checks this. As you may already know, the amount of harmful content and people currently on these apps is staggering. Social media may also lead to depression because videos may lower children's self-esteem as they compare themselves to others, and children under 16 are not mature enough to ignore these offensive videos. Also, as of a survey in 2019, teens spend as long as 5 to 7 hours a day on social media, which is counted as an addiction. This social media addiction cuts into the time that children spend doing exercises and participating in non-ICT activities that make people feel happy and positive. Overall, children under 16 absolutely should not be on social media. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there anyone on the speaking list that I've not called? The question is that the motion moved by the Youth Minister for Digital Economy be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Those against, no. I think the ayes have it. Division is called. Ring the bells. Close the bars. The question is that the motion be agreed to for which a division has been called. Will the government whip please advise what the government votes are for the ayes or noes?
50 ayes, Mr. Speaker.
Will the opposition whip please advise what the opposition votes are for the ayes or noes?
38 noes, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, youth members, the result of the division is ayes 50 and noes 38. The division is resolved in the affirmative. That'll be a good time for a hear, hear for those who won. It is now time for private member statements. I call the youth member for Keppel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As an 11-year-old representing the voices of the future generation, I stand before you today to share my concerns about the future of Great Keppel Island. I have heard about the plans to build a large eco-resort, and while this may bring new jobs in tourism, I worry about the impact it will have on the island's delicate ecosystem. Great Keppel Island is home to many unique plants and animals, and I fear building a large resort like this could harm their habitats and disrupt their way of life. There are also coral reefs surrounding the island in which we need to protect with everything we can. So we must ensure that any development done is done with great care and consideration for the environment. Additionally, I am concerned about the impact the large resort will have on the local community. We must listen to their voices and include them in the decision-making process. In conclusion, we must remember we are not only the youth of today, but the stewards of tomorrow. Let us make choices that protect and preserve Great Keppel Island for future generations. Together, we can build a sustainable and thriving future for this magnificent island, where nature and people can coexist harmoniously. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Tralee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am here to talk about why alcohol should have a limit to how much a household can buy. Alcohol is one of the most addictive substances and which can lead to high consumptions of it. Higher consumptions of alcohol can cause high blood pressure, strokes, heart and liver disease. It can also cause multiple types of cancers, including mouth, throat and liver cancer, along with many others. In December 2020, the National Health and Medical Research Council released the revised Australian guidelines to reduce health risks from drinking alcohol. Guideline 1 states that to reduce the risk of harm from alcohol-related disease or injury, healthy men and women should drink no more than 10 standard drinks a week and no more than 4 standard drinks on any one day. Yet we still do not have any measures in place to prevent people from buying or consuming more than this amount. Another consequence of a high alcohol consumer is financial problems due to the easy and unmonitored access. This is just a few of the reasons why alcohol consumption should be limited to how much each household can buy 1 week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Jeddah.
Mr. Speaker, on this State of Origin Day, I just want to say how great it is to be a Queenslander. Although I was born in the seaside town of Hervey Bay, where the sun shines and you can always smell the ocean air, I haven't always lived in Queensland. I spent a small part of my life living in the UK, where the skies are mostly grey and my mum had to scrape ice off our car windshield in the winter. I've travelled to some great destinations in my small time on our planet, but I can honestly say I will always call Queensland my home. From the property on the Mary River where my grandfather and great-grandmother still reside, generations of families spent countless scorching hot Christmas days, all gathered together having a drink and a laugh. We all know that in Queensland, Christmas Day is the hottest day of the year. We live with our sun-kissed noses and sandy toes on some of the most beautiful beaches, not just in Queensland, but in the world. Our beautiful national parks and their sometimes cute and sometimes deadly wildlife, our long open roads with not a single soul for miles, our team spirit, our community, our Queensland. This is where I call home. All these feelings and experiences I can describe is what it means to me to be a Queenslander. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member. And the Speaker of the Parliament is normally impartial, but tonight I will be definitely going for the Queenslanders. I call the youth member for Razorback.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I draw the attention of the House to the need for more support and funding for sports in primary schools. There are many benefits for students to participate in sports, particularly at a young age. Research shows that team sports help students with their physical and mental health, as well as assisting with the development of social skills, teamwork and confidence. Many students get to high school and find it difficult to begin a new sport. Having the opportunity to try different sports in primary schools builds skills and experience, leading to greater success in later years. With the 2032 Olympics in Brisbane, Queensland has the opportunity to produce homegrown sporty stars in many events. By increasing support and funding, we can give primary school students early access to qualified coaches, equipment and facilities, creating a pathway for future success. I believe we should have more sports available in primary schools, but to do this, we require more support and funding. Sports help students learn leadership, respect and resilience, which is important for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Ironbark.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise to draw the attention of the House to the horrific effects of smoking. Smoking is a poor usage for all ages. It also affects newborn babies. Smoking causes terrible, terrible things. It also affects the developing of lungs, which is poor to the human bodies. Smoking has done major dangerous things to millions of people around the world. I know there is a law 18 ages over, but it is not getting taken seriously. I bet you all know how bad smoking is, but I don't think you are doing anything about it. I am afraid to say things like smoking have and been killing people all worldwide. I am hoping you are taking these words into account so we can help our citizens to make our state a better place. I'm hoping you can all help me make smoking stop and to make our community a healthy and sustainable place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Wallamai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I draw the attention of the House to inform you about koalas, habitat, protection and getting harassed by dogs. Most koalas get killed or injured every year because of overcrowding traffic, and around 34 koalas are taken to Malagal Hospital. Koalas are a great risk from bushfires. Over 4,000 koalas are killed in bushfires every year. If a koala population is living in bushland which is surrounded by development, the whole colony would be wiped out in a single fire. Around 75% of dog attacks on koalas are fatal, and that can lead to dogs getting taken away or koalas getting injured. So to avoid any of that, I tried to come up with a solution. 1. Add more wildlife bridges over busy roads such as Francis Redbury Park. Solution 2. Help koalas from bushfires. There could be a day in Brisbane where every school can plant one tree in a nearby bush area to help koalas repair from the 2020 Black Summer fire that killed more than 60,000 koalas. Solution 3. Each house in a nearby bush area could have a koala-safe fence. This will separate the dog from the rest of the yard so koalas can cross without being harassed. The fence must be no more than 1.5 meters high. It must be made of solid material. It must have no gaps in the fence and have no trees or shrubs growing overhanging within 3 meters of the fence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Agate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I will be telling you about a good news story. This good news story is about the Rugby League Excellence program being run at Redcliffe State High School and why it is so great. You may be wondering, how does this program turn kids into pro footy players? It can turn them into pro footy players with the hardcore training sessions that they do, which include lifting weights in their gym or learning how to run faster with great coaches helping them throughout their high school life. Other benefits from this program are that it will improve overall fitness and stamina for other areas of sport. Not only does it turn kids into pro footy players, it turns them into great people. Another great question that I will answer for you is, how will this help rugby league in the future? With the great connection Redcliffe State High School has with the Redcliffe Dolphins, you'll be seeing more young, tough, energetic men playing in the NRL. Any one of us could be one of those young men. Not only is the program for young men, it is also for young, exciting women who want to make it to the NRLW. If you want your dreams to come true by making it to the next stage in your footy career, I recommend looking into the great things that Redcliffe State High School is doing with its Rugby League Excellence program. And I also have one last very important message, and that's go to Mighty Maroons. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Wyanda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to draw the attention of the House to the disastrous impacts of glitter. You must know by now that plastic is a dye. It ends up in our oceans and kills thousands of marine animals each year. Well, have you heard of microplastics? Microplastics are small bits of plastic that can be found in waterways, fish, birds, marine animals, even tap water, beer, and salt. Microplastics can severely injure marine animals or even kill them. Surprisingly, glitter is a microplastic, and glitter, alongside with non-toxic edible glitters, must be completely banned in Queensland. What they call non-toxic edible glitters is shockingly mostly plastic. Microplastics like glitter can cause sickness, diseases, and even cancers. Glitter-based makeup can cause blurred vision and eye infections. You may even be inhaling glitter. So for the sake of our health and the environment's health, ban glitter because it's glitter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think they call that a zinger. Youth member for Daintree.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Did you know that vaping contains 5 times the nicotine than cigarettes? A vape also includes cleaning products such as Windex and other toxic cleaning supplies. We know vaping is bad for your health and your lungs. If you vape, you are putting your life at risk. Many people are suffering, and many people are suffering from this horrific habit. We must do more as a government to protect our citizens' health and well-being. With more young people accessing vapes, they are exposing themselves to highly addictive and harmful nicotine that can harm their brain development. If we care about our young people, we will ban vapes from being sold across our communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Tribulation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here to talk about why underage vaping should be banned. Although vapes are illegal, I think because it is such a serious matter, it should be more enforced. For the fact that it has over 300 substances, including nicotine, which is really addictive, and has 5 times more nicotine than cigarettes. I firmly believe police officers need to start informing parents if they see underage children vaping or even give their parents a fine. Scientists have discovered that vaping is extremely harmful because from what scientists have researched, it can cause long-term illnesses, including lung cancer. Vapes also include the harmful chemicals that are in bug spray, weed killer, and much more. Would you like your child ingesting these harmful chemicals? No? Then help me ban underage vaping. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Baku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would like to share about the environment in my local area. The environment near my house is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Where I live, there's a lot of bushland nearby and out the back of my house. Recently, in the past year perhaps, a lot of the bushland has been cut down and modern houses have been built. You may think to yourself, oh, well, isn't that lovely? I'm glad that more housing options are being made available. You would be wrong. Not only is this promoting deforestation, but it is also promoting pollution because of the machinery around the modern houses. Not to mention how there are already so many housing options available around Upper Kedron already. We do not need more houses, especially if you're putting the houses right where trees were. Deforestation is one of our main issues currently, and we are promoting it by cheering on the building of the houses. Is that really what we want for our beautiful state? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Tumbarumba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I draw the attention of the House to the astronomical costs in place for children to access public transport. Children under 4 can travel on public transportation without cost. This leaves children aged between 5 to 14 to purchase a go-kart that can commonly cost around $5. Although you may think this is incredibly cheap, you have to put a minimum of $20 on the card for it to activate. And the further you live away from the city, the more it costs for a student to experience education, culture, and sport. Transport should be completely free to people 18 and under. Money is creating a barrier for many people, making them unable to attend events as simple as visiting the museum, going to a conference, seeing the ballet, and so much more. Not only can this solution be a more productive resolution to families, it will have a sustainable outcome for the environment. It has been proven that compared to driving, taking public transport decreases the CO2 emissions by 45%. As I said before, public transportation for all children needs to be free in Queensland. It will encourage families to get out of their house and make everlasting memories. Removing costs for public transportation gives youth in Australia more opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Killarney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would like to mention the fact of the causes of climate change. We all know how climate change is affecting us and the environment, and I am here to remind you of one of the problems it is causing. Deforestation, burning fossil fuels, and farming livestock are producing greenhouse gases and warming up the atmosphere. All of these causes are affecting the Great Barrier Reef, and coral bleaching is becoming more frequent and more intense, leaving less time for coral reefs to recover, adapt, and have the ability to withstand impacts such as diseases. There are simple ways to stop the Great Barrier Reef from bleaching, but it hasn't calmly happened. Recycling and disposing of trash properly helps, as marine debris can be harmful to coral reefs. Using environmentally friendly modes of transportation and saving energy at home or at work, reduce stormwater runoff, and being conscious when buying aquarium fish are all simple ways to begin the process of stopping coral bleaching. We can't stop climate change alone. We need the government, the whole country, and the world to stop it. We need the government to act to ensure this doesn't happen anywhere else. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Wonga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would like to share with the House a matter of great importance that resonates deeply within our communities: community gardens in schools. You might ask what the difference is between a community garden and the current school vegetable patch used during our garden club. A community garden serves a broader purpose beyond the school and is larger in scale and designed to accommodate multiple participants. These are vibrant spaces that foster a sense of belonging, cooperation, and shared responsibility. These gardens provide invaluable opportunities for our students to connect with nature, learn about the environment, develop essential life skills, and provide food for poor families. Benefits include inspiring environmental stewardship by teaching students about sustainable practices, water conservation, composting, reducing waste, caring for others, and encouraging healthy eating habits. The foreseen problems include the maintenance and upkeep, lack of knowledge, and required dedicated resources. Having someone qualified in horticulture involved in this program brings expertise, guidance, and practical knowledge to ensure the success and sustainability of a garden. The presence adds depth and professionalism, enhancing their overall experience for students and participants. In conclusion, this initiative builds on current resources, creates job opportunities for horticulturists, and promotes a sense of caring for each other. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to share my idea with the House.
I call the youth member for Jubilee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that the accessibility to playground facilities for young people with disabilities is vital in our pursuit for equity for all Queenslanders. I commend the Moreton Bay Regional Council for recently spending significant funds on updating the facilities in a park on Bribie Island. However, I strongly encourage them to reconsider the use of bark around the playground. Wheelchairs cannot move easily through the bark. I implore them to consider access for those with disabilities. A recent news report shows a 7-year-old boy called Zach who can't access the playground in his wheelchair. I am here to highlight the accessibility issues faced by Zach on a daily basis. I believe that this is an ongoing issue, not just within parks but all experiences. Facilities should be accessible for all, ensuring all abilities are able to share the same experiences. I encourage councils to add accessibility features such as the use of recycled rubber instead of bark. Without this, there is a segregation in society. We need all access facilities. Please make facilities accessible for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Yakamunda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I draw the attention to the House about ADF students experiencing the difficulties of the different curriculums at different schools they move to in Queensland. With my experience of being an ADF student, when I moved to my current school, I know that they were learning total different things that I had never learnt or even heard of before. This made it hard for me to do many of my subjects. The head of curriculum has said that the Australian curriculum is the same and everyone should be doing the same things, but schools actually teach it very differently. Although she said that all schools in Queensland learn the same things, I have interviewed all defence students, grade 4, 5 and 6, and they have all said that when they moved to schools, everyone the year before they arrived learnt things that they had never been taught prior to going to that school, which makes it difficult and challenging. Although this happens to ADF students, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen to other students. Some students move around Queensland because of new jobs parents may undertake. Also, the cost of housing could cause families to move, which then could take their child out of school's catchment. Moving schools around Queensland is also a problem for students that aren't ADF. This is why the curriculum needs to be reviewed statewide by the Education Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Ithaca.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe we need more health-supported schools around Australia for specialist children in need. If this concern has not been poorly managed, children's mental health can get worse, not only in educational learning, in everyday life. I have heard and witnessed parents having trouble finding schools for their children to extend their learning for better understanding. This can help them with the little things, like learning how to read, write, and spell. It's not just education they struggle with, it's making friends. Every day they get judged or criticised for how they talk, look, and sound. Every day when this happens, they find it harder to make friends, and worse enough, they don't feel comfortable in their own bodies. This matters not only to them, but to me and the parents supporting them in their everyday choices. To make these kids feel better in themselves, we need more staff of parent volunteers for these kids to grow into bigger and stronger people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Tully.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on the motion of banning kids under the age of 10 to walk home from school or the bus stop alone, because it boils down to how mature they are and how responsible they could be alone. For most parents, one of their worst fears are when their kids are kidnapped or possibly killed. It is best that if kids are walking home alone is to give them a phone, but parents don't want to give their kids a phone until the kid's first job or high school. A way this can be changed is neighbourhood watch. When a kid is walking home and someone is following them, they see letterboxes with a sticker of neighbourhood watch, and they go there. The sticker means that the house is a safe place to stay until the person is gone. But not just anyone can get this, because police will have to check the person and have a blue card, so no more kids can get kidnapped. I can't just make this happen alone. But remember, kids walking home alone should be banned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to talk about a problem that exists on our roads. To be specific, street lamps, and how we need more of them. It is a problem because there can be dark alleyways and roads where people who mean us harm might be hiding. It is very dangerous to be alone in these areas where there is no street lights. That is one of the reasons why we should have more. The next reason is because roads without streetlights can be dangerous for cars. Accidents and damage can be caused to cars because drivers cannot see well after dark without streetlights. Another idea is we could also add a sign that says, "Caution, no street lamps ahead." It would give an early warning to all drivers to turn their headlights on or up so they don't crash. Some current streetlights are also not bright enough, so drivers, again, are not able to see that well. Plus, studies show that a lot of the street lamps are broken and have been recorded falling. My research tells me that the cost of a streetlight is only $5,000 to $8,000. It is not that much for the government to pay, so why are we not acting fast and installing more street lamps? We need more street lamps at once to keep our community safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Dalrymple.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The environment plays an essential role in the existence and development of all living things. It is important and critical that our government conserves our important wildlife and their habitats. With more development and housing being built each year, it is essential that we create protected spaces to avoid negative impacts of development impacting our native wildlife and putting key Australian species at risk of extinction. It is important that we do more to protect them as Australia continues to grow in our future. With a more diverse ecosystem than anywhere else in the world, we must do more now to preserve and protect our green spaces and wildlife habitats in our community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Mossman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am the youth member for Mossman, and today I'm going to talk about how to help stop climate change within the state government. As we know, climate change is a big problem for our generation. The earth is heating up because of too much carbon dioxide. Trees take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Because trees take in carbon dioxide, there would be less of it in the air if we planted more trees, which means the earth would stop heating up and we would be able to breathe better. Planting more trees also means more habitats for native animals. This would help reduce soil erosion and also the effects of flooding, which are all issues that Queenslanders face. This is why I think we should plant more trees and stop chopping them down to clear land. Please help me and other Queenslanders by passing bills to plant more trees and reduce clearing land. This will help stop climate change and improve life for all. Thank you.
I call the youth member for Nadu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I am here to speak about the rise of healthcare costs. Currently in Queensland there are over 100,000 doctors, yet sometimes it still costs over $100 to see one. Personally, I think this is outrageous. The cost of healthcare should be lowered to make it more affordable and accessible for all Queenslanders. People shouldn't have to be made to work longer and harder just to afford basic healthcare. If the government can just lower the cost, we wouldn't have the risk of people becoming extremely ill or even dying. In 2019, there were around 2 million hospital admissions in Queensland. Considering there is only 5,319,000 people in Queensland currently, that's a lot. If the cost of healthcare continues to rise, it will have a negative impact on our population. To have Queenslanders struggling to pay the price of healthcare in 2023 is absolutely appalling. If we don't act fast on decreasing the cost of healthcare, the situation will get worse. The government needs to look at lowering healthcare costs and make it more accessible for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Lightning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. Mr. Speaker, water safety issues are important. 10 children under the age of 5 and 14 drown each year in Queensland, so this proves that all children, even preschoolers, need a swimming program. Queensland has 6,973 kilometres of coastline with 30 million visits to public waterways every year. Students must be able to learn to swim because swimming is in our state's heart. If schools never implement a safe, structured swimming program, our state could have a generation of non-swimmers. Swimming is a valuable skill as it will prevent drownings. Mr. Speaker, swimming has been proven not only to be fun but also builds resilience and confidence. It is important for the government to fund swimming programs around the state. Almost 80% of the state's population lives around the coast, so this is why Queenslanders have a love of water and enjoy swimming. Learning to swim in Queensland is vital as it will help save children's lives. Swimming is a skill for life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the youth member for Jardine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that we need to change the school curriculum so that the students can learn from their mistakes in the learning experience. We need to change it so that the children can learn and aren't bored and zoning out during class. We need to change the subjects like HAS, Maths, English and Science. The reason we need to change is because there is too much to learn. Like in grade 6 HAS, for term 2, we had to learn the changing rights for women and everyone else in the world. There is too much to learn for those children. If they do not learn all of it and don't get a degree, they cannot then get a job and will not have the life they wanted. So we need to change this and get it so it's easier for the students to learn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, youth members. Very high quality of debate. You're all to be commended. And many of the topics we hear raised today, we hear in the non-youth members of Parliament. So thank you very much. And as a nurse, it was very pleasing to hear so many of you concerned about health. Thank you. The House will now adjourn for morning tea.